Hello, my name is Selan, and our project name is Urban Nomad. The purpose of the Urban Nomad is to provide fast constructible housing units and a high quality of living for refugees or post-war cities. The Urban Nomad's construction system is reusable and adaptable to every construction site type, which makes it very suitable for extreme situations. So the name Urban Nomad is actually derived from the idea of this transportable project, which can adapt itself to every site on the world, like a nomad.
Briefly, we want to start with talking about the site in Vienna, which has next to it the Prater, which is a very big park, and the Danube River. Across that, in the closer area, are three major bridges where a train on the Praterkai part, a train passes. The Praterbrücke is a highway, and the Donaustadtbrücke, there is a metro station. And on the right side, we can see the buildings in the closer area, the heights of them. There are some allotments next to the Prater, which are very small buildings. And there are closer to our site, are buildings mainly for living, which are about 20 to 30 meters.
The first step was of our urban concept was to build a building block which has the length of the site, and step 2 was to applicate the main urban grid and divide the big building block. Step 3 was the offset of the buildings, which allowed us the passing, which made the passing possible, and also the rigid structure was loosened. And step 4 was the extrusion and the elevation of the building blocks. Our first thoughts were to expand the site onto the railways, but this meant a necessary change of the existing site, and because the project was only temporary in Vienna, our next approach was to design a structure that requires nearly zero changing of the site and leaves the site untouched after its destruction. Therefore, the final form is elevated on columns. It's also allowing itself to adapt to the sloped landscape situation. Here you can see the figure ground plan, and with red our project Urban Nomad. Let's talk about our landscape concept. Here you can see our ground floor plan. As I told you before, the site in Vienna has an oblong form and offers nearly nothing for the pedestrians and bikers right now. And Urban Nomad's landscape concept aims to utilize the oblong form of the site and create scene changes as passengers go by. After the destruction of Urban Nomad, this concept can still be in use at the site. And below you can see our first floor plan. Here's a little graphic that we prepared about the on which the inhabitants of Urban Nomad talk about the lifestyle of theirs.
Now we will look at an example building, the fourth building in our project, a little bit closer. So you can see those two roads along the Danube River, and there were the main access to the staircases. It's a little bit higher, and we always have this same access system with the staircase on the length side of the narrow side of the building, and then we have some community areas on the left side, and some secondary spaces. The community areas, as we heard before, are always different from building to building. When we move up, we can see that we have an open access balcony that connects the access stairs to the apartments, which we go into a little bit deeper in a minute. We move up a little bit further, and we can see how the different apartments are on top of each other, and there's always the same system of access. And on one further, we can see that there is a green community terrace, which is always in every building included. Here you can see the topography of the site a little bit better, and how those people can cross our project. For the facade, we have a timber facade, and the ground floor is a skeleton structure, and from the first floor up there are cross-laminated timber construction, and the access area are precast concrete elements, which then are fixed onto the skeleton structure. Okay. And here we see our apartments. For us it was of utmost importance that the people who share the same struggles need to have a good community. So our concept of apartment design also aims to fill that purpose. And as you can see, we always at the corridors function both as access areas but also as spacious open air balconies. And the system is always those squarish, that's the graphic on top, squarish living spaces expand to the access area. And the apartment types are A, B, C, D, and one cluster type. The types B, C, and D are with this system of the squarish living space, and the cluster type also. So they can be on top of each other, for example, in the buildings. And the type A is for 1 to 2 persons and is a little bit more special, but we try to have different sizes for every possible constellation of people. The construction is, as mentioned before, a skeleton structure in the ground floor and a cross-laminated timber structure and the top floors. And on the right side we can see how, for example, this building 4, which we saw earlier, is constructed from different elements, which we then see in the next slide, how are they transported. And for the process, we estimated that there will be a time from approximately 1 to 2 months from when the war has ended to the deconstruction of urban nomads, over the transportation and to the arrival at the destroyed building site with the start of the reconstruction. So we calculated how many containers, wagons, and trucks we would need for this building. And as you can see on the at the bottom of the page, there are 26 containers, 9 wagons, and 20 trucks, or 20 trucks needed. We would prefer the 9 wagons by train because it's the most environmental solution. And yeah, it's also the less amount of transport vehicles needed.
Here you can see a view from a co-working space on top, and below that a view from an expanded common living space.
Project facts very briefly. We have on the site in Vienna space for approximately 750 people, which could also be a little bit more dense, but we decided not to build more than 3 or 4 stories because it's for this site we thought it's more fitting, but it could be possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you.